Welcome to the West Sports Show. In today's episode, should the Eagles be chasing Stephen May? Is the rising star Murphy Reeds to lose? And we preview this weekend's AFL preliminary finals. We are brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today. You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Well, it's preliminary final weekend and there's been a huge selection change. Some massive news just in the last 10 minutes. Out, Mitchell Woodcock. In, Chris Robinson. G'day, Chris. How are you?
Hello, Glen. Bit of Mason Cox about me. Just whipped me out of the business end of the season.
Well, mate, I can just see you kicking 8 in a preliminary final and just turning the game. Yeah, now, for anyone out there, don't worry. Mitch is just having a well-earned day off. He's been very busy.
He is, but he's still actually working from home as well.
As he does.
Extremely just beavering away as he usually does.
So it's the best week of the football year, in my opinion. Yeah. Preliminary final weekend is pure football. You don't have as many of the corporates, so it tends to be just actual fans at the games, which is something nice. And it's one of those intriguing weekends where so many stories around it. You don't want to get injured, but you have to give 110%. Mm-hmm. So we've seen so many epic finishes to preliminary finals, haven't we?
And it's especially good if you're a Hawthorn fan over the past 15, 16, 17 years, because you're seeing your team in a prelim every second year in that span just about, ain't you?
Well, you know, we've lost some finals too, Chris. But, yeah, a little bit of expectation around this weekend. But you can't get to the grand final if you don't play in a preliminary final.
That's true. Do you know what I love saying?
Yes.
Towards the end of a prelim final, if it's done and dusted, and you particularly see this in prelim final, who are the 4 blokes, when the game's in the bag and it's done and you're going into a grand final, who are the 4 blokes who go to the bench in the last 2, 3, 4 minutes? Because that is the clearest indication of who the coaching staff think these are our 4 most irreplaceable guys. Maybe not best guys, but irreplaceable guys. These are the 4 guys we cannot afford to lose going into a GF next week. That's always a fascinating little watch.
So if it's July, it's Jeremy Cameron's probably the first to the bench.
It's probably
Hawthorn's probably Jack
probably
Gunston.
In there as well.
Probably Gunston for Hawthorn. I would suggest N. Dacos might get a ping on the bench.
Suggest John
Brisbane's
Newcombe,
an interesting one because it could be Dunkley, could be McCluggage, could be Harris Andrews.
Yeah, they got a few.
Well, we'll get a bit of an indication, won't we? Before we get into the preliminary final, Chris, let's just talk a bit about news today.
Yeah.
Earlier today, bit of a bombshell, really. So
Yeah.
Stephen King appointed Melbourne coach on Monday. First media conference, he comes out and he says, we want to keep our champions. So Petrarca stays, Oliver stays. Today, the news is out that they have indicated to Stephen May he should explore a trade option. Now, he's 33 years of age. He has 1 year remaining on his contract. Mm-hmm. My question to you, let's just rule Fremantle out. They don't need, they've got really good defensive depth. Correct. They're not after a 33-year-old.
Correct.
Should West Coast go after Stephen May?
I think you can make the case for it.
I am going to make the case for it.
Okay, all
I'm
right.
asking you first.
Well, I'm in the no camp.
Okay,
as I say, I don't think it's an outrageous proposition, but I'm in the no camp. Turns 34 in, I think it's in January.
Yeah.
Next year is year 16 in the AFL system. There's a lot of kilometres on the odometer for Stephen May. And just looking at his past 3 seasons, so he missed 2 games in 2023, missed 4 games last year, missed 7 games this year. So there's a bit of wear on the tyres there. I think there's a fair question about how much you could rely on his availability. But even outside of that, is he the right fit from a culture point of view? We've seen some stuff off the field. We've seen him get up in Max Gawn's face on the field. As I say, I think you can make the case, given West Coast's need for defensive class and defensive leadership. I just don't think he's the guy.
Yep. You mount a very good argument. I agree with all of the above. And I'll add to that, he's 16 games this year, didn't finish in the top 10 of the Bluey Truscott Medal, their best and fairest award. So
in a pretty poor side.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I just think 33, this is a premiership defender. Not so long ago was absolutely one of the elite defenders in the competition. Yep. You look at that West Coast defence and Harry Edwards building nicely, had a good year this year. I just think some experience. Say you get 2 more years out of him. What can he teach them from an on the field in terms of defensive structures, etc.? And I just think, with likelihood that they're going to be under siege again next year, that West Coast defence.
Sure, of course.
I just think he could help shore them up a bit and add a bit of value. It's only for 2 years. He's not part of your long-term strategy, but he can be an on-field educator.
I think you can make the case. Can you imagine how much on-field gesticulating and frustration there would be?
Well, he's shoved Max Gawn. He's shoved the most lovable character in the competition this year in Max Gawn.
And this is in a team that's been...
Well, hasn't shoved him. Sorry, he gave him an earful and Gawn gave him a shove.
This is in a team that's won a flag in 21, been contending up until this year. In a West Coast team that won one game this year, can you imagine how frustrated he's going to be in that defensive unit?
Yeah, but you're prepared for it.
Goodness.
You're prepared for it. You could argue the case that Melbourne, with their squad, would have challenged for a spot in the 8 this year. So there were frustrations. That particular game, Gawney kicks across the ground, cost Melbourne, Collingwood win by a point, but I think Max just got a few credits in the bank, so it's probably a bit 100%. Harsh.
Really interesting move from Stephen King, though, just straight out of the gate. Bang,
well, what else do you expect from a horror novelist?
That's true. That's true. It's the early twist. The twist is usually late. It's a really early one.
Oh, you can see he just wants to make an early statement re club culture, so he's moving on from Stephen May and Christian.
And you wonder how much was mentioned there in terms of when he was going for the job, how much that was discussed. Hey, what are your thoughts on Stephen May?
Absolutely, that was discussed.
So
of course it was.
It's clearly got the board and the hierarchy's backing as well.
So, okay, you're a no, but you can see an argument the other way, and I'm the opposite. I can actually grant you your argument, but I'd actually have a crack, as long as you're not giving away too much with a year left on his contract. Across town, Fremantle. So Monday night, Brownlow night. Actually, before we get to that, Chris, I want your opinion on this because you know I'm a rusted on, let's move the pre-finals by to pre-grand final. What's your opinion on it?
I think you can I think you can definitely make a case for it. And I like the idea of having the 2 weeks lead into the grand final. We had that 3 years ago. Was it before the Perth grand final?
It was only the only time we've had that is before the
Perth one?
Yeah, it was COVID.
Yeah. And that was great. What I'd ask people to remember, though, is why the bye was brought in to begin with, which was the last round of the home and away season. Clubs started resting all their guys and it became a bit of a piss
But it wasn't really plural. There were a couple who did it, and Ross Lyon did it with Freo when they couldn't move from top spot.
Sure.
And so, but my argument would be if you're a supporter and you know you're finishing top of the ladder and your coach comes out on the Monday morning and says, we're going to rest 10 players, I've no issue with that. In fact, I'm happy because you're looking ahead to the finals, week one of the finals. I think it helps with things like betting, so people at least know. So, futures betting perhaps not, but I don't know. I just think I think that argument's now out the window, and I just see so many arguments for pre-grand final bye. We would have had the Brownlow, all the awards would have been last week.
Side of it. Do you know what's going to be a really interesting watch is how your boys go over the next, 9 days.
We'll get to that,
because no team has ever won it from 8th. Hawthorn finished 8th. And if they win it from 8th, or even if they make the grand final from 8th, it's just another tick in that box of the top 4 aren't getting the advantage that they should get with that pre-finals.
I agree, and we'll get to that game just in a little while. I think the top 4 teams need more advantage, definitely, for finishing top 4. So I think that would cater. And I think if the two teams that have qualified for the game that everyone cares about the most, it's the AFL Grand Final. Surely those 2 teams deserve the best lead up possible to get the best teams they can have out there.
And you're worried about someone getting concussed this week.
I am really worried because I hope no one is concussed this week. Don't get me wrong, Chris. I really hope no one is, but it will take a big name, and it will take a big name from a Victorian club. If it was a West Coast player or a Fremantle player, even an Adelaide player, mate, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
But if it is a big name player, and I'm not going to single anyone, but if it is from a Collingwood or a Geelong, you mark my words, they're moving that bye to pre-grand final because there'd be such a stink.
Yep.
And also hamstrings, little groin strains, et cetera, gives you the best chance to play.
I think you're right. Let's put a timestamp on this right now. We'll roll it out in a few days after the prelim when it comes to pass.
That's right. Well, so next Monday, Brownlow medal night. Who's your tip for that, by the way?
Nick Dacos.
Yeah, same.
Just going out on a limb, but I think you'll be right. I think you'll be high 30s.
But there's another important award that night, which is the Rising Star.
Thank goodness.
Fremantle have had 3 previous winners, Reece Palmer and Paul Hazelby. Let's start with the great Paul Hazelby, our good mate. 2000, Reece Palmer, 2008, and of course Caleb Sarong in 2020. So I would think Murphy Reid would be one of the shortest price. In fact, he is one of the shortest price favourites in a long time. I'll give you my order. I think Murphy Reid from Levi Ashcroft and Dan Curtin. I think Levi mounts a good argument. He's actually, people say, it's a ready-made midfield. You've slotted in nicely. He's also had to get a regular position in the reigning premiership team.
He's also a great player.
Yeah. He's a great player. Yeah. Dan Curtin, I think, phased it out a little bit at the latter end of the season. Has had a good season. And as a tall utility, found his niche on a wing. Great season, but I don't think either of them. And I'll throw in there Harvey Langford, Connor O'Sullivan, Archie Roberts, all had great seasons. Just Murphy Reid, his impact, his coolness, his calmness, his use of the football, his use of the handball, really good game in round 24, just to remind everyone how good he is. I think Murphy Reid wins this.
Yeah, I agree. I think he gets it. I'd probably have Curtin second ahead of Ashcroft, and I think it'll probably be pretty tight between Murphy Reid and Curtin. And there was rightly plenty of hype around Curtin sort of in that second half of the season when he found that role, sort of coinciding with Adelaide's surge to, not just a good team, but hey, they're actually going to finish on top kind of team. But Murphy Reid in a trickier role as well, and that needs to be factored
Half
in.
forward.
It's a tricky role, and has been so good with the footy in hand, hasn't missed a game, and all these numbers quarters as well. The first player ever to
You're
kick,
a numbers man, Chris. Throw them at me.
I will. First player to kick 25 or more goals whilst also providing 25 or more score assists in their first season. His 38 score assists in a first season was second only to Cyril Rioli since that stat was introduced, I think 2003.
Fair players.
He was ranked first amongst the AFL's general forwards for finding a mark from a kick inside forward 50, so that was 39.1% of the time. So almost half the time he's kicking inside 50, he's linking up with a teammate and setting up a goal. And then, of course, was crowned the best young player at the AFLPA Awards last month. So I think he's got the numbers there, and the eye test, he passes the eye test as well. I don't think it'd be a disgrace if Dan Curtin won it, but I think it's Reid, Curtin 1-2 in that order.
I agree with you. I'm going to go Reid, Ashcroft, Curtin 1, 2, 3 in that order. I think either way, long as Murphy Reid wins it, I don't really care what the podium looks like. When you're on the go, Chris, you can save big bucks at Thirsty Camel bottle shops. You're a Thirsty Camel man. I've seen you.
I love the Camel.
Oh, I love the Camel.
I love the commercial where the Camel's just running around all the different landmarks in Perth. Fantastic.
Shop the way you want, online and in store. There's convenience and great value every day. They've got Hans Super Dry 3.5 stubbies for just $51.99 a carton. For Camel Club members, the perfect accompaniment to some prelim final action this weekend. Head to the website or download the Thirsty Camel app today and make sure to stick around to the end of this episode, and we'll be giving away a $50 voucher for the best mail of the week. You ever been on a camel?
On an actual camel?
Yeah. I
haven't, no.
Wouldn't surprise you, would it?
Of course you have.
In Alice Springs.
You probably fell off it as well.
In Alice Springs, I was on a camel. We did a little sort of a half-day trek to a waterhole. We get to the waterhole. He said it's okay to have a swim. So we had a swim, and then he tells us afterwards there were crocodiles in the waterhole.
Is this the camel telling you this?
They were fresh. This is the guide.
Okay, yeah.
The freshwater crocs, obviously.
Okay.
I can tell you one thing. They're a bit awkward to get on, and they're a bit awkward to ride, but the habits they have are not to my liking, I can tell you.
What do you mean?
Oh, yeah, it's not a great
odor
coming from the mouth area.
Yeah,
They're
okay.
Chewing all sorts of stuff. But anyway, that was my camel experience, Chris. So we got the Rising Star happening on Monday. We got the Brownlow happening on Monday. There's a Coleman medalist. Jeremy Cameron's got that in the bag.
Yeah, I reckon Jeremy Cameron wins that.
Yeah. Do you think there should be a Defenders Award?
Yeah, absolutely.
And who should it be named after?
Oh,
Hard
that's
question,
a hard
that one.
question.
I'm going to say Stephen Silvani only because he was named the fullback of the century last century.
Sure.
But you could roll out half a dozen names that would be suitable.
Yeah, you could.
And what would you, if you did that, what would you base it on? I mean, it's got to be, is it on goals, fewest goals conceded? Is it at sport?
No,
Or maybe
I
you have a
don't think you can do that.
combined data pack that a judging panel has to look at.
Yeah, I think it would, as much as you said, I love numbers, I don't think you'd do that. I think it would just be, I think you should just add it to the repertoire of that All-Australian Rising Star selection panel. It's just they're picking the best defender.
Pick the best defender. I think it'd add
just
a bit of a layer, don't you reckon?
Test. Yeah, 100%. You factor in team success, you factor in the kind of role that you're playing, whether you're actually playing on someone or if you're just peeling off or whatever. Yeah, I think that'd be great. Like, how much impact have we seen from some of the absolute best in the comp, even just over the past 2 weeks. Harris Andrews, immense. Darcy Moore a couple of weeks ago. Tom Stewart's come back to form. Obviously, Josh Battle and Tom Barris doing what they're doing for your guys.
Sicily, yeah.
Sicily. There's so many, and they just show time and time again in finals how important they are.
Darcy Moore.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, I love that idea.
I think it's it just would add a dimension to the competition.
Yeah,
now, before we get
defenders.
to our tips for the preliminary final, let's hear from our great mate, David Short.
Shorty's tips.
G'day, it's producer Josh here, and joining me in the studio is David Short. How are you, Shorty?
Very well, thanks, Josh. Nice to be with you.
Prelim final weekend, who's hot?
Hot's Jack Gunston. The veteran Hawk, he's just been elite last week, 5 majors. He's kicked 25 goals in his last 6 games.
Amazing.
He's paying $7.50 to kick the first goal and $5 to kick 4 or more goals in this game.
And who's your cooler?
Adelaide. The Crows, weren't they disappointing? Out in straight sets. They had a good regular season, but the finals were not pretty viewing.
Yeah, very interesting to see how they go next year after that season. Who's your hot tip for this weekend?
I'm looking to take a same-game multi with Fletcher and Pendlebury to get 20 or more disposals and Lohman to kick a goal. That's paying $2.75, gives us a good interest in that game.
Yeah, I like it. And on the drift?
The Hawks, they are out to $2.55. They opened up at $2.38, so that's a pretty significant drift.
Yes, it would be exciting if the Hawks got through to the granny, but we'll wait and see. And your play to watch?
Is Kai Lohman. So his season's been really badly interrupted with injury, but he kicked 3 goals last week. I thought he was important with that bounce-back wing from Brisbane. It's worth remembering he kicked 4 goals in last year's grand final, so he's a real finals sort of style player. He's paying $2.40 to kick 2 or more goals and $5.75 to kick 3 or more. So I think he could achieve 1, if not 2 of those this weekend and give us a nice little fill-up.
Love it. Thanks, Shorty. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
Tomorrow night, Friday, 5:40 p.m, MCG. It's a sellout, Chris.
I'm sure it is.
Oh, imagine it.
It's an absolute ripper.
Geelong, $1.50. Hawthorn, $2.60. And according to our old mate Shorty, just on the slide a little bit.
Okay.
Punters know, you know, Chris.
Okay.
Geelong finished with 13 different goal kickers in the qualifying final, the equal most in a final in champion data history. The Cats have won their 6th of their last 7 against the Hawks by an average margin of 40 points. I reckon Hawthorn frees up a little bit against Geelong. Just in recent history, they get a bit tight.
I'm
not talking anyone up and I'm not talking anyone down.
All
The
right.
Hawks kicked the first 3 goals of the game last week in 4 minutes and 17 seconds. The fastest 3 goals to start a final on record. The Hawks won the time in forward half differential by 20 minutes and 18 seconds, the best result this season. Last time they met, the Hawks out-tackled Geelong by 21 in round 6, their best differential against them over the last decade. Now, Chris, they're going to have to replicate that because I thought Geelong's pressure in week 1 of the finals was the best I've seen so far post-season. This is going to be about pressure, and in particular, this is going to be about Jai Newcomb. If you're looking at how to stop Hawthorn, I think Geelong's got many midfield assets. I think Hawthorn just lacking 1 or 2 elite midfielders. So no Will Day, and they probably need 1 more. Josh Ward, fantastic last week. But Jai Newcomb, 4 finals, ranked number 1 on the ground in each 4 of them. So you can absolutely bet your bottom dollar Geelong will put a lot of time into Jai Newcomb. Is it Atkins? Is it O'Connor? Is it Mullins?
O'Shane.
Who do you think it's going to be?
I think it's probably O'Shane who gets it.
Yep.
But you're right. That's definitely happening, isn't it? We've got that exposed evidence over the past 2 weeks that if you don't keep this guy in some sort of check, you will get made to pay. And that's just what you've got to do. You've got to take away the number 1 weapon and say, hey, if you beat us another way, if Josh Ward has 30 again and absolutely stars, then you tip your cap. But they cannot, and I don't think they will, get torched by Jai Newcomb. That's going to be
The only question I'd have about that, and it's okay around the ground at stoppage, etc., but at centre clearance, it's pretty important to be more focused on your own structure. And that's where Jai Newcomb does most of the damage, is at centre bounce down.
Yeah, and we saw it early last week, didn't we?
Well, we
As
did.
As you said, that sort of early goal blitz, he was just had his fingerprints all over that. But no, I'd suggest that Geelong would have been looking at it even after that first final when they had the week off, just in case Hawthorn won through, and then Hawthorn have won through. So they've probably had 2 weeks to plan for Jai Newcomb. I think he'll be getting a fair bit of attention on.
And the other one is Jack Gunston, who got away from Jack Henry a bit the last time we met. So the other thing you can be sure of is that there'll be no lead-up freedom for Jack Gunston, which he's done so well in the previous two finals. So they're going to be closing that area down, trying to force Hawthorn to kick dirty ball in there so Tom Stewart can clean up. Hawthorn, conversely, will be trying to kick it low and find their targets that way. But that lead-up entry for Gunston's going to be way off. I mean, on the opposite side, I mean, Jeremy Cameron presents a big challenge.
Sure.
They've got a lot of players that I think the Hawthorn half defence is playing really well. They're really well set up behind the footy. I'm going to pick the Cats in a pretty narrow game here, and I'm not. It is a bit of happiness.
Of course it is.
But I just think a couple of things. I think Geelong's just a little bit ahead of where Hawthorn is at the moment.
Yep.
We saw how good they were week one against a bloody good team in Brisbane. And I think they've come from eighth. And don't forget, they've gone Sydney, Adelaide, and now big game at the G. So it's taxing.
Yeah.
Geelong's had rest. Now, that's important, but that is one game in 3 weeks going to hurt Geelong. That's the counter argument to it. Reece Stanley, a test, but I don't think that'll bother him too much. I think Blissarves rucked really well in week one of the finals. So
I think they'll stick fat.
I think Blissarves against Meeks, not a bad matchup, counters his strengths. And I think for Hawthorn, Gunston, Ginnivan, who both had hamstring issues, they're okay. They've been cleared. And Jarman Impey's got a bit of calf tightness, but he's been cleared as well. Don't underestimate him. Cal Shadir's still a week away. But for me, it's the Cats in about 2 or 3 goals.
Yeah, I'm probably with you there. I think it might end up sliding a little bit more than that. It might be 4 or 5 goals.
Yeah, once the heat's out of the game late, you think it often happens.
Potentially, yeah. A couple of points of intrigue. So that game that you mentioned when they played last, that was Easter Monday. That's the last time they played. So all the way back in April, early April, whenever that was.
I can't remember the last time they played once in a home and away season, actually.
Yeah. So it's a long time ago that Connor Nash hit on Brian Myers that took him out of the game. The second thing that I'm really interested to see, so Geelong haven't had a close game in so long, so long. They haven't had to work for it hard late. So their past 13 games that they've played, margin's been 4 goals or more. They haven't had a tight game in forever. So if this one comes down to if they actually have to play in the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes, late game execution, it's been so long since they were there. Can they perform when the pressure's on? And we know they've had a bit of a soft lead in, obviously fantastic in the qualifying final, but before that had a bit of a soft run into the finals.
Had a very soft run.
Had a very soft run into the finals. If this game is close, if your boys can just hang and where there's only 5 minutes, 6, 7 minutes left on the clock, can they remember how to execute late in a game? That's going to be a really interesting point.
So Hawthorn has to be ahead at halftime, really.
Yeah. And I think they can be.
Yeah.
We saw them make that really
starts.
fast start last week, and they. One of the good things about Hawthorn, and we see it obviously comes a lot from their coach, and we see it off the field and on the field as well, is they don't care. They're not scared of anyone. They're not going to be intimidated by the occasion.
That's true.
They do not care. They're not going to shrink in the headlights, so they're going to be just fine.
Saturday, 3:15 p.m, the other preliminary final, Collingwood $1.68, Brisbane $2.20. Jeremy Howe, test on a groin. Brisbane Lions, injury-wise, they're going okay at the moment. Obviously, Lachie Neale's not playing. Quick question. Do you think he plays if they get through the GF, and would you risk him at 60%?
Oh, no.
Okay, I'm a yes.
Okay. Yeah, we're arguing on a lot of things today. This is why we could never be together. I don't know. It's very hard to change your side for the grand final. If they've won through and swept and gone bang, 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 it's very hard to make the case. Can I ask you this before you go into the preview? Most of the time, prelim final week, we get one kind of semi-blowout-y kind of comprehensive game and then one really, really close game. So I went back and had a look. So we've seen a prelim decided by 10 points or less in 5 of the past 6 seasons. So going back to 2019, Giants beat Collingwood by 4. 2020, Richmond over Port at Adelaide Oval by 6. Sydney beat Collingwood by a point in 2022. Year after that, Collingwood won by a point against the Giants. That really thrilling game. And then last year, Brisbane against Geelong by 10. Do you think this one will be the close, quote-unquote, close prelim?
I actually think it'd be more likely to be the Hawthorn-Geelong game.
Yeah, okay.
And I actually think the premiership team will come out of Friday night's game.
Okay. Yeah,
And I'll tell
okay.
you who I think will be playing in the grand final in just a moment.
Right, okay.
Collingwood's average age of 28.8 in the qualifying final makes them the oldest ever team in a final.
Big number.
Geelong's 2022 grand final team was the previous oldest.
Sure.
Now, we said that entering the first week of finals, by the way, and Collingwood went okay. And I can tell you, if this game is tight late, absolutely the ball will be in the hands of Pendlebury and Sidebottom because they know what to do with it in these tight clutch games. Magpies have won 4 of their last 5 against Brisbane, dating back to the 2023 grand final by an average margin of 19 points. The Lions won the clearances by 17 when these teams met in round 21, their best differential against them since 2000. Brisbane scored 41 points from defensive 50 chains last week, the 7th most in a final and most since 2014. Question, do you play Bobby Hill? Do you play him this week? If the strength and conditioning guys say he's available, would you play him?
No, you don't. It does lead to a really interesting question if they win this week, though, because if you've got a Norm Smith medalist who's ready to go and you're going into a grand final,
You want to put doubt in the
where you
opposition's
know he has
mind.
performed on the big stage,
Well, you sub him in.
that's going to be an incredible storyline for next
Good
week.
argument for the sub.
It is. So it's a no for this week, but if they win, that is a monster talking point next week. Monster.
As I suggested, Collingwood's pressure week 1 was unbelievable against Adelaide. And many sort of say that they sort of they threw the first 4 or 5 punches to get Adelaide on the ropes and Hawthorn just finished them off last week. The one thing is Hawthorn didn't really face much pressure last week.
Sure.
So that's something I didn't discuss before. But Ned Long to Hugh McCluggage. We know he's gettable. 14 possessions in week 1. Bounced back last week really well. Josh Dunkley probably gets a run with someone, but 18 tackles last week. So they'll try and match the Pies in pressure, and he's a real key to that. You agree?
Oh, yeah. Dunkley was I love watching Dunkley play. He's a big game player. I mean, if the Lions win, Dunkley's going into his 5th grand final, 10 seasons. It's really underrated. He's played in a GF in 1 out of every 2 seasons if they win.
Good player. So Collingwood have a few weapons. One of them's Jamie Elliott, who's really stiff not to make All-Australian.
Absolutely.
And would you expect Brandon Starcevich to go to him?
Yes, definitely.
I think so.
Yep.
I look at Collingwood and I see every argument to pick them. But then I look at Brisbane. I really rate Brisbane. I thought last week's game against Gold Coast was the easiest match to pick in the finals so far.
Yep, agreed.
Gold Coast had their finals win, I thought, and Brisbane, they have so much depth. And the midfield writes itself, Will Ashcroft, etc. But the forward line, I mean, it's underrated. Kai Lohman, Zach Bailey, Charlie Cameron, who probably needs to lift a bit. Logan Morris, Ty Gallup. I really like the look of Ty Gallup. I'm going to say Brisbane win this game. I'm going to say they win this, and that keep your eye on Kai Lohman. Apparently, the story about the hair, he's just gone too far with the haircut. And he's just had to go on with it. So he's got nothing.
I thought he looked fantastic. The shaved hair look, making a massive comeback. I thought he looked fantastic.
Do you think if you're a Gold Coast defender and he runs out in the field, you're like looking at him and go, I reckon it actually would be a little bit off-putting
a
for
couple of
5
times, even just watching on TV a couple of times, you're just like, who is that?
I thought it was
sort of see the
Starcevich.
wide shot and then you're like, oh, right, yeah, okay.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Just got a little lazy bit of money on him in the GF winning the Norm Smith already, even though they haven't made it yet. So I just think look out for him. And the other player I really like is Cam Rayner. Probably the most difficult player to tackle and probably the player who breaks tackles the best in the competition.
Certainly last week,
Absolute X factor all over him. And I think look out for him this week. I just can see Brisbane. I know we keep going back to the age of Collingwood, and Brisbane's not particularly, they got their older players as well, but I just can see Brisbane just getting on top of them in the second half of this game.
Yeah, there's just a couple of little red flags for Collingwood. Obviously a really good win against the Crows, although even that over the past week when we saw what Hawthorn did to Adelaide as well, probably doesn't look quite as impressive as it did
And they
this
weren't
time last week.
overwhelming in the finish to the year either, Adelaide.
Yeah. And so Collingwood, their own finish to the year was kind of here or there. It included a loss to Brisbane at the MCG, which was early August, so early last month, 6-7 weeks ago, not that long ago. They lost by 27 points. And yeah, you just talk about those Brisbane match winners. I mean, even last week, Zach Bailey was pretty quiet. who's been a really important player for them in the second half of the season, All-Australian. He was pretty quiet, but they had so many other guys. Rayner had his turn. Dunkley, as you mentioned. Harris Andrews was immense down back. They kind of just took it into, obviously, Will Ashcroft. They kind of just took it in turns.
How
to
good
stand
is
up.
Darcy Wilmot?
Yeah. This is the thing. They've got weapons
he
everywhere.
one of the most underrated players in the comp?
Yeah, he is. And benefits, obviously, from, guys like Zorko. Their precision ball movement is just so impressive. So, yeah, I can totally see Brisbane getting this done. And I think this will be the close one.
Yeah,
this will be
okay.
a really, really
this
close
is a bit
one.
of pressure too. It's interesting because Brisbane do like the control game and Collingwood like a bit of chaos.
Yep.
So it's going to be a really interesting final. So let's see what happens. So we're both picking a Geelong-Brisbane grand final.
Yeah, let's do it.
Who wins?
The Geelong-Brisbane grand final?
I'm saying Geelong.
Yeah, I'd probably say Geelong as well, actually, yeah. Yep.
I'm excited, Chris. You know why?
Why?
It's Thirsty Camel mailbag time.
Let's do it.
This week's special Hahn Super Dry, 3.5% stubbies. Camel Club member price is $51.99 a carton. Join up in store or online today.
Would you be having one or two of those responsibly watching the Hawks on Friday night, or are you I'm not drinking during the game, I'm strapped in, focused?
Absolutely not. I'll be straight onto the liquid heroin.
Straight onto it?
Straight onto the white wine.
It is a good...
Maybe a cleansing beer to start with that I'll purchase from
Thirsty
Thirsty
Camel's
Camel.
got you covered. They've got everything.
It has, onto the LH. I think nice and early just to calm the nerves a bit. Of course, we give away a $50 digital voucher every week. Thanks to our old friends Thirsty Camel. Get your questions in for next week to TheWestSport at wanews.com.au. Leave your mobile number at the bottom of your email as we'll send you the voucher if you're a weekly winner. Busy mailbag this week, Chris. Hi, guys. Now with the trade period up and running, I see quite a few players wanting a trade. Normally, it involves a pick. Will there be trades that involve players being traded between clubs, or is that in the past? I was racking my brain when the last time it happened. That's Paul from Rockingham. I went back through the history books. I struggled to find one. The last one I found was 2010.
Yeah.
And it was Sean Grigg, Carlton to Richmond, in exchange for Andrew Collins. So I think Richmond might have got
very well out of
pretty
that.
deal. They're nothing against Andrew Collins. I'm sure he's a fine citizen, but I can't really think of a straight player swap. It tends to...
The first one that came to my head was Greg Harding for Daniel Metropolis, but there might have even been a pick thrown in there as well, and we're going back
They tend to throw...
There.
I mean, there's lots of pick trades as well.
Yeah.
But pure player swaps.
But it's very hard to make the case for, we want that guy, you want that guy. We think they're exactly the same value. That guy just feels the need for us, and that guy just feels the need for you. I guess it's very rare that happens.
Yeah, very rare.
Yeah.
Quarters and Mitch. Hey, Quarters and Chris, I'll
Hello.
say. If two non-Melbourne clubs, Geelong and Brisbane, win their preliminary finals, is this the best scenario for next week's grand final? That's kind regards, Andrew.
Well, that's what we just picked, Andrew.
Well, we just picked them, and I think the four teams that are left are pretty entertaining teams. Interesting, I think this is the first time since 2011 there have been two MCG prelims.
Okay. It's probably about
Normally
right.
there's one interstate.
Sure.
So I think our friends in the media in Victoria will be hoping it's two Victorian teams, put it that way.
The Hawthorn Collingwood, Granny.
Hawthorn Collingwood or a...
Geelong's pretty much met. Well, what's the fastest you ever drove from the CBD to Geelong? You used to spend a lot of time in Geelong back in the day. Can you do that in what's that?
Okay,
What's the commute?
is that in my old Datsun 180B, my Safari
what could
yellow
it-
one
yeah,
that I
what could
call
it get up
Lethal
to?
Lee?
Yeah.
That used to take me about an hour and a half, but remembering there weren't bypasses. You had to go over still have to go over the West
I thought you were
Gate.
going to say, remembering there weren't speed cameras.
There was
but-
a toll booth. You had to drop coins in a toll booth to go over the West Gate, and then it was a pretty slow drive over the West Gate because the Datsun 180B with the faux leather roof.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that not much wind resistance, so it used to take me about an hour and a half. Now you can do it in an hour easily.
Yeah, okay. So that's basically part of Melbourne.
Not that far. Just jump on the train.
That's fine.
Steve from Sereno, not happy, Chris. He writes, your newspaper's infatuation with Harley Reid is well known, but this week it went to a new level. The article on Monday announcing the return of State of Origin to the AFL earmarked Harley as a certain starter for the Victorian team. There are at least a dozen midfielders originally from Victoria who would be a mile ahead of Harley in the selectors' deliberations. He actually raises a fair
point.
Has your reporter heard of Bontempelli, Dacos, Rowell, Anderson, Dunkley, Smith, Holmes, Butters, Callahan, Sheasel, Newcombe, Sarong, Brayshaw and Young?
I guess so. But where's the game being played?
It's being played here. That's right. That's just for starters. I could give you a dozen more. Admittedly, you were sensible enough to break ranks and leave Harley out of your Victorian team in Tuesday's podcast, which might have been a bad career move for you. I would say that if there is a Reid in the running for a place in the Victorian team, it would be his namesake Murphy from the team down the road. Steve, never let it be said we don't read out critical emails. But the game is being played here.
It is. Right. I think that's a factor. I really do, yeah.
You want to pull the crowds in?
Yep.
High. Teams are increasingly looking at mature age players at lower levels to bolster their side. What are the prime requisites? The prerequisites, he means, for mature age players. Is it pace, foot skills, hardness, courage? There are so many talented players but don't have the capability to step up. Eagles didn't work with Clark, West Hams, but there are mature age players like Bevan and Murdoch who simply rely on hardness. During COVID, the Eagles had some waffle players that were very good for some matches, but they were never seriously considered for recruiting. Some insight, please. I reckon Tom McCarthy's a really good example.
It's a great
of
example.
a mature age player who comes in. I think you look for all of those things, but you also look for a level head, someone who's got a bit of experience, who's not going to be overawed, because I think mature age players, you sort of want in. It's not like someone you want to put some time in to get them ready. You want some sort of instant impact. So I think experience, which sort of goes hand in hand with mature age players.
Yeah, and sometimes it's need dependent as well. Like
Yeah.
West Coast are crying out for some ball use out of defence, right? With in the
Some elite ball use out of-
post-Hearn kind of era. And McCarthy showed that he can do that, and now he showed that he can do even more.
Yeah, and it's not as if he's going to have the second year blues, because he's a mature age player, so he should be right for next year.
Yep.
Brendan writes, the centre circle has a single line and the opposing ruckman can quickly cross over to the other side, turning it into an ugly wrestle. I suggest that the centre circle has tram lines running from wing to wing, 2 lines running across it. Ruckman can then not cross their line until the ball up. The tram lines will just make it harder to block an opposing ruckman from jumping. Benefit is that both ruckmen will be encouraged to run and jump. Also, it won't be necessary to make the circle bigger, which can cause PCL knee injuries. They're going to look at this. There's going to be more impetus into players running and jumping, which is a great thing. I'm still against the bounce being removed, but I think they're leaning that way. I think they're going to improve the ruck rules next year.
By not nominating?
Well, that's just another area. I mean, I don't think they should nominate. I think that's long gone. I mean, my argument there is, I reckon if you're not within the air, 5 metres or 10 metres, ball up, whoever's around, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
Nominating's
Just
nonsense.
keep it moving quickly.
Nominating's
Do you know what we
just
have to get rid of is the warning for 666. Is that happening next year? Are we getting rid of the warning?
I think you'll
Did see
find.
that
I
somewhere?
reckon Greg Swan's going to be pretty aggressive. I think he'll be aggressive with a lot of areas.
And as he should be, how many years have we had this rule for?
So we know about it. So you transgress. Sorry, it's a free kick from the
100%.
centre.
Let's do it.
Yeah, no mucking around with it.
Yep,
Agree.
100%.
There'll be also between the arcs. So last kick, last handball,
Sure.
some last touch between the arcs. So that's going to be really interesting
Yep.
too. Prepare for a lot of change next year, I reckon.
Do you know what? I was having this debate with someone the other day. I actually don't, as much as people hate the deliberate rule, I actually don't mind the kind of theatre of it. It's almost like a
I love it.
crowd. Yeah, it's almost like a crowd. You know how you get to go ball, yeah, for holding the ball. There's almost the same thing with the deliver when there's a long kick and you can see, hey, that's going to go out of bounds and there's no one in the vicinity. You get a big chance as a crowd to appeal for it and then celebrate it when it comes off, as opposed to if it's just last touch, you just go, well, that's just
So
our free
here's
kick.
the thing.
Don't
I
mind
agree
it.
with you totally. I think it's added a layer to the game. But here's the thing. Between the arcs, you'll have last kick, last handball, maybe every now and then a bit of a last touch if it's deliberate. But inside the arcs is still going to be
That opportunity.
it'll be that opportunity.
sure.
So can you imagine the crowd inside the arcs late in a game when it's tight, pleading with the umpire, and then he comes in with the old underarm
Yeah, it's
signal,
it's a
which we all
good gesture.
love.
It's a good umpiring
It's
gesture
one of the
as
best
well.
in
yeah.
the game. It's
Just a
second
big underarm
only
throw.
to the ball.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
because you can really sort of wind it up, and you can just tell in the instant before the umpire's about to do it that that's what he's going to do, and you have that feeling.
And
Yeah,
you
it's
can
great.
maybe you can do what I used to do when I occasionally goal umpired,
What's that?
is pretend to put the 2 arms down, let's go with one. So you could pretend to wind your arm back, but then you just scratch your back or something like that.
okay.
That would add another bit of theatre to it.
You would do that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I did it.
You're all about the theatre.
Yeah, it cost my mate a career high 7 goals one day. He'd kicked 6. I thought that's enough. They were well in
So
front.
Gave
him the 2 arms and then held one back.
That's a bit cheeky. And also, you've got very small hands. It's harder
know.
for people to see your hands.
Yeah,
so
I know.
It's a very difficult one.
It was.
Yep.
Hey, boys, I raised on a different show Quarters is a part of. That would be the ABC, around
Very
equalisation.
great
A
show.
concern around equalisation. I think the point is maybe different. Some clubs are more attractive destination clubs than others. Think Collingwood, Geelong, Hawks and emerging Brisbane. If Hawks or Geelong come knocking, you would think you're likely to win a premiership every 10 years or so. Would you say no? So a question. What will make Fremantle a destination club? Is it the list, coaching or something else? They are so close but need to improve at least at least the same rate and likely more than the teams around them. It's made hard when these powerful clubs can just go and grab what they need seemingly easier than the rest of the comp. Well, they did get Luke Jackson back. They did get Shai Bolton back. I actually think part of being a destination club is the sort of window you're in. So they've ticked that box. I think they're in the window.
Yeah.
I think but he does raise a good point. That was from Joel from Carlisle, by the way. He does raise a good point. Who wants to go to a bottom club?
Well, it just depends on how long you're going to be bottom for, really. It depends on how long you're going to be down there for and what kind
Depends
of
what
trade-off
stage
you
of
can
your
get.
career you're at.
Yeah, and you can get paid more, and sometimes that's more important depending on where you are in your career. And you can go, hey, if I have 2 or 3 years of pain here, then I can build something from the ground up. I mean, look at Brisbane like 7 or 8 years ago, not that long ago. We're just nowhere, having just terrible season after terrible season. And then that one season, was it 19 or 20, they just popped. And now they've made 5 out of 6 straight prelims. It can happen. If you can get the core there, it can happen.
Right, I'm tipping that this next one won't be a chance to win the Thirsty Camel prize
It won't?
this week. Hey, boys, it feels like there's a lot of hype behind Hawthorn in the media.
Is this your question?
Hawthorn deserve to be hyped up because they are very good. But I think it's getting out of hand.
Oh, okay.
Some are already making comparisons to the Bulldogs in 2016. But could they possibly be on the same pathway as Melbourne in 2018? In 2018, Melbourne finished 5th and had all the hype behind them going into finals.
Mm-hmm.
Made it to the prelim, and much of the media jumped on their bandwagon, many comparing them to the Bulldogs, only for them to get smashed by the Eagles, the eventual premiers. It feels like this could be happening again. Geelong, the premiership favourite, seem to be underrated, and the underdog is getting hyped up.
That was an amazing game.
Josh from Willerton.
That 2018 prelim, you've never seen more punters in the stands on their phones midway through the second quarter, late in the second quarter, halftime, booking grand final, trying to get grand final flights accommodate, because that game was over. Halfway through the second quarter, it was done. It was 6, 7, 8 goals to none. That was an incredible game, that 2018. So I can understand that. I don't think Hawthorn will suffer that fate though.
There's something
certainly
about
not by that margin. As I said, they're not going to shirk the issue, and they don't care. I think Melbourne probably got to Optus. West Coast were primed, and they went, "Oh shit, this is a bit of a level up from where we've been." Whereas I don't think Hawthorn will suffer that same fate.
He goes on. Sorry, I didn't finish that.
Yeah,
Emil.
sorry.
Recency bias is an obvious problem in the semi-finals week, but do you think it's still a thing in preliminary finals week? It seems like we've lost sight of the top team in favour of the exciting surging team. That's a point too.
I guess so, but we have seen some good surging teams just continue to surge, as we talked about earlier with that pre-finals bye. It's kind of even the playing field. So we've seen them surge before. We might see it again this weekend.
G'day, gents. If State of Origin is only one game, it should be in the pre-finals bye, which should be moved to the week before the grand final. That will allow 90% of the players to be available, and any injuries could be sorted out over the off-season.
Oh my gosh.
Having the game in the pre-season is almost guaranteed to fail because coaches will hold their best players out. I reckon they might be holding them back out in the pre-finals bye as well. I personally reckon it should be an annual event of 3 rounds between WASA, the Vics and the Allies. Have the first round in the pre-season and the second round in the mid-season bye to sort out the 2 best teams. And the third round could be a playoff in the pre-GF bye to determine the winner. If every year is too much, they could alternate each year between a men's and a women's State of Origin. That's from Camo. A great email. Look, interesting
I love the
points.
idea.
Pre-finals bye, you're not going to have any of the teams participating really going to have
Yeah.
any skin in the game, I don't think. I still think it should be every 4 years, like the old National Carnival was. You can have your Indigenous game every second year, and then you just got to fill that third year, which could be, I don't have any great ideas yet, but every 4 years, I reckon, the average career, I reckon you're going to get 2 cracks at it. I just think it builds the prestige a little bit of what it means. So, and I'd still
becomes like an Olympics.
And I'd still have Division 1, Division 2 and all of that sort of stuff. So, so the winner of the Thirsty Camel voucher for this week, drum roll, Chris, is Brendan. With his email about mature age players.
Sure.
Well done, Brendan.
Congrats,
Enjoy
Brendan.
your Thirsty Camel. Now, before we go, Chris,
Yes.
a quick tip and a Simpson medalist for the Waffle Grand Final this Sunday, South Fremantle, East Perth. Get along early, get along, watch the Colts, get along, watch the Rezzies.
It's going to be cracking weather. That's going to help.
Cracking day. South Fremantle 17-1, chasing their 15th flag. East Perth 11-7 in the home and away season, obviously trying to avenge last year's loss to Peel Thunder. Lost their last 2 games to South by 47 and 59 points. I'll start. I'm going to pick an outsider to win this game, mainly because most of my mates are East Perth and I'm in their zone. I'm going to pick East Perth to cause a massive upset with Hamish Brayshaw to walk away with the Simpson medal.
That would be a fantastic story. I'll take the favourites, going for 15 in a row. They're also going for their 15th club premiership, Waffle Premiership. I'll take South Freo by 15. Matt Parker for the Simpson.
Well done. You have been listening to the West Sports Show. We have been brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today. You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Remember, you can watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube Music. Chris, thank you for your presence. You've added a layer of class to this podcast.
Thanks for having me, Quarters. Best of luck for the Hawks tomorrow.
Now go and ride a camel.